Presentation. I am Mary and today we will explore two fascinating topics, genetics and adaptation. Genetic is a science that helps us understand how traits are passed from parents to their children, while adaptation explains how organisms change over time to survive in their environment. Together, these concepts reveal the story of life, diversity, and continuity. So first and foremost, what is genetics? Genetics is a branch of biology that studies genes, heredity, and genetic variation in organisms. Simply put, it is the science of how traits and characteristics are inherited from one generation to the next through genes. Genes are segments of DNA, the chemical blueprints inside every cell that contains instructions for building and maintaining an organism. DNA is organized into structures called chromosomes, with humans having 23 pairs. Each gene carries the code for specific traits such as eye color, height, or even susceptibility to certain diseases. The study of genetics began in the 18s with Gregor Mendel, who discovered how traits are inherited by observing pea plants. Since then, genetics has expanded to include molecular genetics, genomics, and population genetics. That's all for my topic, and thank you for listening. And now let's proceed to the next reporter, Miss Charisse.
So I am Charisse Nunez Galera, the second reporter, and now my topic is all about the common genetic term. The first one is allele. An allele is one of two or more versions of a gene that are found at the same place on a chromosome. Each individual inherits two alleles for each gene, one from each parent. Alleles can be dominant or recessive, which influences how traits are expressed. The second one is chromosome. Chromosomes are long, thread-like structures made of DNA and proteins that carry genetic information. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes in each cell, with each chromosome containing hundreds to thousands of genes. Chromosomes ensure that DNA is accurately copied and distributed during cell division, playing a crucial role in heredity. The third one is DNA. DNA is the molecule that contains the genetic instructions used in the growth, development, functioning, and reproduction of all living organisms. It is composed of two strands forming a double helix with sequences of nucleotides encoding the information for building proteins. DNA is organized into genes, which are the basic units of heredity. The fourth one is dominant gene. A dominant gene is one whose trait is expressed even if only one copy is present. This means that if an individual inherits one dominant allele and one recessive allele, the dominant trait will be visible. Dominant alleles are usually represented by capital letters. And the fifth one is recessive gene. A recessive gene only expresses its trait if two copies of the recessive allele are present, or homozygous recessive. If paired with a dominant allele, the recessive trait is masked and not visible. Recessive alleles are denoted by lowercase letters. So, I think that's all for my topic. And thank you for your listening. And now, I am passing this to the next reporter, which is Ms. Elsie Otot.
Good day, everyone. I'm Elsie, and I'll be discussing these topics: mutation, genome, genetic variation, heredity, and epigenetics. So the first one I'll be discussing is all about mutation. A mutation is a change in the DNA sequence that can alter gene function. Mutations can occur naturally or due to environmental factors and are key of source of genetic variation. Some mutations have no effect, while others can lead to new traits or genetic disorders. The second one is genome. The genome is the complete set of DNA in an organism, containing all its genes and regulatory sequences. In humans, it includes about 3 billion base pairs organized into chromosomes. Studying genome helps us understand heredity, disease, and evolution. The third one is genetic variation. Genetic variation refers to the differences in DNA sequences among individuals of the same species. It is essential for natural selection and adaptation because it provides diversity in traits. Variation arises from mutations, recombination, and gene flow. The fourth one is heredity. Heredity is the process by which genetic information is passed from parents to offspring. It explains why offspring inherit traits like eye color or height. This transfer occurs through DNA during reproduction. The last one is epigenetics. So the epigenetics changes in gene expression that do not alter the DNA sequence itself. These changes can be influenced by environment and lifestyle and can turn genes on or off. Epigenetic modifications are often reversible and affect how genes function. So by studying each of these topics, it helps us understand the complex world of genetics and how it shapes life on Earth. And that's all my topics. Thank you for listening, and I will pass the floor to Ms. Althea Bourbon.
Good day, everyone. I am Baby Althea Bourbon, and today I am going to talk about adaptation. So, what is adaptation? Adaptation is a process by which organisms adjust and change over time to better survive their environment. It involves changes in physical traits, behaviors, or psychological processes that increase an organism's chances of survival and reproduction. And there are three main types of adaptation. The first one is structural adaptation. These are physical features like thick fur of polar bears that helps them stay warm in cold climates, or the long neck of giraffes for reaching high leaves. And the second is the behavioral adaptations. It involves actions organisms take to survive, such as birds migrating to warmer areas during winter or the nocturnal animals being active at night to avoid predators. And the third one is the psychological adaptations. These are internal body processes, like the ability of some fish to regulate salt levels in their bodies, or as humans sweating to cool down. And these three adaptations develop over many generations through natural selections, where individuals with advantageous traits more likely to survive and pass those traits on their offspring. And now I am going to pass the floor, or let's hear from Miss Eliza Canilio. And thank you for listening to me, and I hope you learned something.
Thank you for the wonderful insight, Althea. Again, I am Paloma Eliza V. Canilio, and I'll be talking about what adaptation is not. It is important to clarify what adaptation is not, since adaptation is not a conscious or intentional process. Organisms do not choose to adapt. Instead, it is a natural outcome of genetic variation and environmental pressures acting over many generations. Adaptation should also not be confused with acclimation, which is a short term of reversible psychological adjustment an individual organism makes in response to environmental changes. Unlike adaptation, acclimation does not involve genetic changes. Acclimation does not involve genetic changes and is not heritable. For example, humans can acclimate to high altitudes by increasing red blood cell production, but this change is temporary and not passed to offspring. Additionally, adaptation is often misunderstood, so it's crucial to highlight what it is not. It is not a deliberate or conscious effort by organisms to change. Rather, adaptation results from natural selection acting on random genetic variations over many generations. So, in summary, adaptation is a heritable evolutionary process that results in permanent genetic changes improving survival over generations, whereas acclimation is a temporary, non-genetic adjustment that helps individuals cope with environmental stressors during their lifetime. So, that will be all. Thank you for your attention as we discuss what adaptation is not. Now, let's hear from Dali Rose.
Hi, I'm Dali Rose B. Atilio. In conclusion, genetics provide us with a fundamental blueprint of life, revealing how traits are inherited and how the diversity of life is encoded within DNA. Adaptation, on the other hand, show us the incredible power of nature to shape living organisms over time, enabling them to survive and thrive amid ever-changing environments. Together, these fields not only deepen our understanding of life and complexity, but also highlight the ongoing story of evolution, a story written in the language of genes and shaped by the forces of nature. As we continue to unlock the secret of genetics and adaptation, we gain invaluable insight that impact medicine, conservation, agriculture, and our understanding of humanity itself. Remember, the study of life is a journey of discovery, and by understanding this concept, we become better equipped to appreciate and protect the intricate web of life on Earth. Thank you for joining us on this journey through genetics and adaptation. We hope this presentation inspires you to explore further and recognize the remarkable processes that connect all living things. Again, I am Dolores Piatelio, and thank you for your listening.
Hello there everyone, I am Daniela Escordova and today I'm going to talk about DNA. So what is DNA? DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid is a molecule that carries genetic information for the development and functioning of an organism. Basically, DNA is a molecule that contains the biological instructions that make each species unique. DNA, along with the instructions it contains, is passed from adult organisms to their offspring during reproduction. That is why you have the DNA of your parents. So, where is DNA found? In organisms called eukaryotes, DNA is found inside a special area of the cell called the nucleus. Because the cell is very small and because organisms have many DNA molecules per cell, each DNA molecule must be tightly packed. This packed form of the DNA is called a chromosome. So DNA structure. As you can see in the figure, DNA is made of two linked strands that wind around each other to resemble a twisted ladder, a shape known as a double helix. Each strand has a backbone made of alternating sugar and phosphate groups. So, attached to each sugar, as you can see, are the four bases: the adenine, guanine, thymine, and the cytosine. The two strands are connected by chemical bands between the bases. Adenine binds with thymine, and cytosine binds with guanine. The sequence of the bases along DNA's backbone encodes biological information such as the instructions for making a protein or RNA molecule. So are you curious who really discovered DNA? So DNA was first recognized and identified by the Swiss biologist Johannes Friedrich Miescher in 1869 during his research on white blood cells. The double helix structures of the DNA molecule was later discovered through experimental data by James Watson and Francis Crick. Finally, it was proved that DNA is responsible for storing genetic information in living organisms. So that's it for my topic. I hope you have learned something.
Good day everyone, my name is Kyle
My name is Jonas.
and we'll be your presenter for today. Today we'll be discussing the topic RNA, which is very important because RNA is essential because it plays a key role in carrying genetic information and helping cells build proteins, which are necessary for life. Understanding RNA helps us learn how our bodies function and how diseases like viruses work.
So let's dive into the main point of the topic. RNA is ribonucleic acid that helps in the synthesis of protein in our body. This nucleic acid is responsible for the production of a new cell in the human body. It is usually obtained from the DNA molecule. RNA resembles the same as that of DNA. The only difference being that it has a single strand unlike the DNA which has two strands and it consists of an only single ribose sugar molecule in it.
So how many strands are in RNA? The ribonucleic acid has all the components same as the DNA with only two main differences in it. RNA has the same nitrogen basis called the adenine, guanine, cytosine as that of the DNA except for the thymine, which is replaced by the uracil. Adenine and uracil are considered as the major building blocks of RNA and both of them from base pair with the help of two hydrogen bonds.
So what are the functions of RNA? The ribonucleic acid, RNA, which are mainly composed of nucleic acid, are involved in a variety of functions within a cell and are found in all living organisms, including bacteria, viruses, plants, and animals. This nucleic acid functions as a structural molecule in cells, organelles, and are also involved in the catalyst of biochemical reactions. The different types of RNA are involved in various cellular processes. So the primary functions of RNA is it facilitates the translation of DNA into proteins function as an adapter molecule in the protein's synthesis, serves as a messenger between the DNA and the ribosomes.
So there are RNA types. There are various types of RNA, out which are most commonly known and most commonly studied in the human body. tRNA or transfer RNA. The transfer RNA is held responsible for choosing the correct protein or the amino acids required by the body, in turn helping the ribosomes. It is located at the endpoints of each amino acid. This is called as soluble RNA, and it forms a link between the messenger RNA and the amino acid. And also the rRNA, the ribosomal RNA. The rRNA is the component of the ribosome and are located within in the cytoplasm of a cell, where ribosomes are found in all living cells. The ribosomal RNA plays a fundamental role in the synthesis and translation of all mRNA into proteins. The rRNA is mainly composed of cellular RNA and are the most predominant RNA within the cells of all living beings.
So lastly, we have the mRNA or the messenger RNA. This type of RNA functions by transferring the genetic materials into the ribosomes and pass the instructions about the type of proteins required by the body cells. Based on the functions, these types of RNA is called the messenger RNA. Therefore, the mRNA plays a vital role in the process of transcriptions or during the protein synthesis process.
Alright, so that's it for our topic RNA. So I'm gonna be introducing the next presenter.
So hi everyone, my name is Johanna Kamay and I will be discussing about chromosomes. So in this report, we will explore the structure, function, types, and also the significance of chromosomes, as well as their role in health and disease. So what is chromosomes? The chromosome is present in the nucleus of each cell, and it is packaged into thread-like structures. Structurally, each chromosome is composed of DNA that is tightly coiled around special proteins called histones. So typically, chromosomes are not visible under the microscope. The only time they are visible is during the process of cell division. So, in other words, chromosomes are essential structures found in the cells of all living organisms. So they carry genetic information in the form of DNA, which determines everything from physical traits to biological functions. So understanding chromosomes is fundamental to study of genetics, heredity, and many biological processes. So DNA, what is DNA, man? So DNA is a group of molecules that is responsible for carrying and transmitting the hereditary materials or the genetic instructions from parents to offspring. So if you guys wondering what is histones? Histones are small, positively charged proteins that package and organize DNA within the nucleus. So forming nucleosomes. So the basic units of chromatin. So they consist of 4 core histones proteins, which are the H2A, H2B, H3, and H4, and a linker histone H1. So histone contains a histone fold, domain, a conserved structural motif, and an N-terminal tail that can be modified. So in other words, guys, histones are special proteins found in the nucleus of eukaryotic cells. So their main role is to package and organize DNA into a compact structure so it can fit inside the nucleus. So here's kanang kuan the explanation sa DNA. Simple explanations lang. So DNA is very long, and if ma-stretch out siya, it would be about 2 meters in length in a single human cell. So histones act like spools so that DNA wraps around. So this helps coil the DNA tightly and form a structure called chromatin. So what is chromatin? So chromatin is the combination of DNA and proteins, mainly called as histones. So this is found in the nucleus of eukaryotic cells. So its main function is to efficiently package DNA to fit into the cell nucleus and to control gene activity. So there are two main types of chromatin. The first one is euchromatin. So loosely packed, and genes here are usually active, while the second one is heterochromatin. So tightly packed, and genes here are often inactive. So a group of 8 histone proteins forms a nucleosome, which is a basic unit of chromatin. So besides packaging DNA, histones also help regulate gene expressions, meaning they can control which part of the DNA are turned on or off. So I think that's all for my part about the chromosomes. I hope that you have learned something. So now let's have Miss Isel to discuss more about the chromosomes.
Hello everyone, I'm Angel Rivolio, the second reporter. So today let's talk about chromosomes. All living organisms have chromosomes. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. 22 pairs of these chromosomes are called autosomes. These are identical in male and female. The 23rd pairs of chromosomes are called allosomes, and they differ between the sexes. The males have one X and Y chromosomes, while females have 2 copies of the X chromosomes. Rule of chromosomes. First, genetic inheritance. Chromosomes are the carriers of the genetic information in the form of DNA. They are passed from parents to offspring, ensuring the transmission of genetic traits. Second, cell division. Chromosomes are replicated and distributed accurately during cell division. These ensure that each new cells receive a complete set of genetic information. The third one is DNA integrity. Chromosomes helps protect and organize the DNA, preventing it from getting tangled or damaged. The fourth is genes. In expressions and regulations, chromosomes contain genes, which are the functional units of DNA that code for proteins. These genes provide instructional for cellular processes like growth, metabolism, and protein synthesis. The last one is health and disease. Chromososal abnormalities such as changes in number or structure can lead to genetic disorder. For example, Down syndrome is caused by an extra copy of chromosomes. Understanding chromosomes and the rules is crucial for diagnosing and treating genetic disorders. I think that's all. I will pass to Miss Ekala. Thank you.
Interesting facts about chromosomes. Not all organisms have sex chromosomes. Organisms such as wasps, bees, and ants do not have sex chromosomes. Sex is therefore determined by fertilization. If an egg becomes fertilized, it will develop into male. Unfertilized eggs develop into females. This type of asexual reproduction is a form of parthenogenesis. 2. Bacteria have circular chromosomes. Unlike the thread-like linear strands of chromosomes found in eukaryotic cells, Chromosomes in prokaryotic cells such as bacteria typically consist of a single circular chromosome since prokaryotic cells do not have nucleus. The circular chromosome is found in the cell cytoplasm. X chromosomes are bigger than Y chromosomes. Y chromosomes are about 1/3 of the size of X chromosomes. The X chromosome represents about 5% of the total DNA in cells, while the Y chromosome represents about 2% in the cell's total DNA. 4. Human chromosomes contain viral DNA. Did you know that 8% of your DNA comes from a virus? According to researchers, this percentage of DNA is derived from viruses known as bornavirus. This virus infects the neurons of humans, birds, and other mammals, leading to infection of the brain. Bornavirus reproduction occurs in the nucleus of infected cells. Viral genes that are replicated in infected cells can become integrated into chromosomes of sex cells. When these occur, the viral DNA is passed from parent to offspring. It is thought that bornavirus could be responsible for certain psychiatric and neurological illnesses in humans. Thank you.